All right, guys, we are back for another session. Today, we're going to go over entry rule number one. Now, this one's a little bit more detailed, so make sure you have your pen and pad out. If you have any questions, make sure you send an email or reach out. First thing we look for, y'all have seen this before, but if you haven't, let's go into it today. First thing we look for is going to be our anchor, our multi-day M or W pattern. This has a minimum of 2 days that is required. Okay, a minimum of 2 days that is required. An anchor M represents the beginning of a sell zone. Okay, meaning you're going to be looking for opportunities to sell. An anchor W represents the beginning of a buy zone, meaning you're going to be looking for opportunities to buy. Now, if that's too much, let me just give it to you real plain and simple. You're going to be looking for multi-day equals. So if it's an anchor M, you're going to be looking for equal highs. If it's an anchor W, you're going to be looking for equal lows. That is as plain and simple as I could possibly put it. Okay. Now, if you don't remember from previous recordings, an anchor is nothing more than a huge trap, guys. That's it. If you look at the example I have over here to the right, notice how that's a huge M and a huge W. But if you look on the inside of that M and that W, look at this M right here. There's a W on the inside of the M. There's an M on the inside of the W. Now, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in detail here coming up, but I want to make sure y'all understand why the anchor is what it is. This is where they're normally collecting orders, collecting contracts. They're trying to get you to get into the wrong position in the wrong direction before they completely take the market in another direction. Okay. This is why we call our anchors the GPS. It's telling us when the market is getting ready to go on a bull run or a bear run, or it's telling us that it has no desire to do anything at the moment. Okay. It's going to tell us exactly where the market is expected to go. And it's up to you to be able to decipher between these anchors. Okay. It's up to you to be able to decipher if we are in these anchors. So let's look at the many different variations that we have. On my screen, you're going to see literally 8 different examples of anchor M's. All of these are telling me that there's an opportunity to sell coming. This is the beginning of a sale zone. Okay. What is a sale zone? MAAW. We'll get into that in a second, but I want to make sure that when we get there, y'all can see these. Now, I made mine pretty for the purpose of this presentation. I know, I know, I know. However, when you get to the charts, they're not going to be this beautiful. So we have to build muscle memory. So one of the key notes that I can give you from this lesson is after you watch this, watch it over and over and over. After you watch this, go to the chart and mark up actual anchors, as many as you possibly can find. Okay? As many as you possibly can find, because your anchor is going to be one of the number one places that you and your fellow traders and your colleague traders are going to disagree. Not in a bad way, though. Let's say me and Miss Kim, we're both trading. We post in a group chat, hey, I'm looking at EURJPY and I see a half a Batman or a Head and Shoulders anchor M. Or I'm just going to say I see half a Batman, right? And she might say, okay, I'm looking at the same thing, but I see a 22. Okay, if you look at this half a Batman down here, you look at this 22 up here, guess what? As long as we're both looking at it as an anchor M, neither one of us is incorrect. Now, the only way somebody can be incorrect is if I'm looking at this as a half a Batman W and she's looking at this as a 22 M. That means one of us wants to sell and one wants to buy, and you can't have both on the same currency pair. Okay? You cannot have both at one time. So making sure you mark these up is going to be important. Remember, your anchor is nothing more than an area of equal highs in this case because we're looking at an anchor M or equal lows. So go through here and look and see this area has equal highs. Now, when I say equal highs, guys, I'm not telling y'all to identify the highest point. Okay. Not when you're initially looking for the anchor. Okay. I'm asking you to go to an area where you notice that there's kind of like a neckline where they're kind of playing around and everything is in the same area. Right in here, we have equal highs, equal highs, equal highs. Okay. We have equal highs right in here, equal highs right in here. Identifying that is going to help you train your eyes to see this on any chart. It doesn't matter what the asset class is. Okay. Let's look at anchor W's. All right. Same patterns. These are just the opposite direction. So instead of equal highs, we now are looking at equal lows. Okay. We now are looking at equal lows. Why is this important? This is the beginning of a buy zone. What is a buy zone? WVVM. WVVM. Now, if you're not familiar with the different zones that we have, we're going to get into that in just a second, but I want to make sure you remember just because you see an extended leg W and I see a half a Batman W, it doesn't mean either of us is incorrect as long as we're both seeing the same thing. Okay. The only time we can be incorrect, or one of us can be incorrect, is if you see this as an extended leg W, and I see this as a 12M on the same currency pair. That one of us is wrong. Okay, one of us is wrong, and we want to be able to identify that. All right, the next thing we're going to get into is after you've identified your anchor, where are you? Okay, where are you? So we have a bearish reset, we have resets, we have trend change, we have consolidation. Remember, the market can only do three things. Can only do three things. It can give us a trend change. It can reset, and there's two variations of resets. There's a bearish reset and there's a bullish reset, or it can consolidate. But I want y'all to notice something about the consolidation, right? We're going to talk about these individually. With the consolidation, I know most people don't like to be over here and trade inside of this, and maybe you say it's just too noisy or I can't read it. Consolidation is nothing more than M's going to W's, going to M's and W's and M's and W. That's all it is, back and forth. So if you can decipher that, it'll be easy for you to recognize one, when you need to stay away, and two, what the chart is telling you so you know where you are. Okay. Now let's talk about our resets. Our reset is nothing more but a continuation of the trend that it was already in. So look at this bearish reset. We were already in a sell zone with MAAW, but guess what happened? With our and I'm going to change my color really quick. With our resets, we get what I call an anchor to anchor exchange. So it's basically two sell zones put together. How does this transaction happen? How does this exchange happen? Your anchor W at the end of your first bearish cycle goes into an anchor M to begin a completely new bearish cycle, MAAW. Now, on the charts, this area right here looks like consolidation. It looks like W here and M here. That's what it looks like. It looks a little messy, right? But you'll be able to identify it, see it, and know what it is just by looking at the chart. Again, muscle memory is huge. Being able to identify these things on the charts with the moving averages, with market structure is going to be key. Not just watching this video, but actually putting the work together, putting the information together and doing the work yourself. Then we have a bullish reset. A bullish reset, just like the bearish one, is just a continuation of a bull market, right? Of a buy zone. So we have a WVBM, a buy zone here. Here's that anchor to anchor exchange, that M that went directly into a W, and then it continued to go bullish. That's what we're looking for. Okay. That is what we're looking for. Then we have our sell zone, and our buy zone. If you did not know, this is what those two together, the sell zone and the buy zone together, collectively make a trend change. Why do we consider it that? Notice your sell zone is going bearish. There's an anchor that is made, and I want y'all to see in the midst of this anchor that's made, this big crazy looking W, there's an M on the inside of that, right? There's an anchor that's made, and now we're going into a buy zone, which is taking us from bearish selling to bullish buying. So your trend change is literally the opposite of a continuation. It's when the market is literally changing course. So coming to the charts and identifying, okay, I'm at an anchor M, or okay, I'm at an anchor W, or I'm at the first V or the second V. Being able to identify that is important because you're going to know exactly where you are, and you're going to know exactly what type of trade you should be taking and what is fake and what is real when it comes to how market structure is moving. This is just making it easier because you know there's only three tricks that they have. Now there's two variations of the reset, but there's really only three tricks. The market's going to consolidate, it's going to reset, bearish or bullish, or it's going to do a trend change. One of the three, right? And this is our sell zone. Okay, our sell zone. Our sell zone is simple. M, starting with an anchor M here, your first A, right? Giving us that lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. And then a W anchor is what it ends with. So your sell zone ends with an anchor W, but it begins with an anchor M. Okay, and let me say it the opposite way. Your sell zone begins with an anchor M and ends with an anchor W. I'm going to say it another way. I just want y'all to be familiar. Your sell zone begins with equal highs and ends with equal lows. Okay. Practice this, mark this up, practice market structure. I'm literally looking at lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Practice this so that way you can identify it for yourself. Next, we're going to get into, excuse me, next we're going to get into our actual buy zone. Okay. With our buy zone, it's important for us to identify one, what we're looking at, two, how often we're looking at them, because we want to make sure if we are actually in fact in a buy zone, we want to make sure while we're in that buy zone, we want to make sure we know what we're looking for. Okay, we want to make sure we know exactly what we're looking for. Your buy zone is going to begin with equal lows. Okay, your buy zone is going to begin with equal lows, and it's going to end. Okay, it's going to end with equal highs. Your buy zone is going to begin with equal lows, and it's going to end with equal highs. All right. Hopefully this makes a piece of sense for you. If it doesn't, please, please, please ask questions just to make sure there's nothing that you are missing. Again, your buy zone begins with equal lows or an anchor W, and it ends with equal highs or an anchor M. Begins with equal lows or an anchor W, and ends with equal highs or an anchor M. Okay. Remember, your anchor is multi-day, meaning it has to at least be 2 days worth of information before we can even get excited about anything. Okay. Now, with that being said, there's a minimum, but there's no maximum. Your anchor could last weeks or even months. So it's important that we see those small, intricate details of, okay, this is an anchor M, this is an anchor W. Let me identify this, making sure you know what you're looking at while you're on these charts. This is why it's important not to overload yourself with information. I know we want to be the smartest person in the room, but when it comes to trading, guys, help me help you. Okay? We're not trying to get all the information. We're not trying to know everything. We are always going to be students of these charts, okay? They'll humble you every time you feel like you got to figure it out. So with that being said, let's pick one strategy, make money with it, okay? And then we'll start to learn more. Just because you have a strategy doesn't mean that it's one size fits all and it goes from all time frames. Now, people might sell it and market it as such, but that is not always the case. The best example I can give you, you can't go to a steakhouse and expect the best fried chicken. They're famous for steak, so you should probably get the steak. And if you do get fried chicken, don't be mad when the fried chicken ain't crispy or it's not hitting like it's supposed to hit. Okay? Make sure that you are treating the charts the same way. We do not use strategies for scalping when we're intraday trading. We don't use swing trading strategies for intraday trading. Probably sounds crazy, but a lot of people do it. All right, guys, if y'all have no questions for me, I will see you on the next session.